Today, we're diving into a really powerful piece by Jung called Lost Spring. Just that title alone, Lost Spring, Stories of Stolen Childhoods, really hits you, doesn't it? So, in this explainer, we're going to unpack what that truly means by looking at the lives it describes. Okay, let's get into it. The whole idea really clicks when you understand the central metaphor, spring. I mean, think about what spring is, right? It's the season of new life, of vibrant colors, growth, and just pure joy. And that's exactly what childhood should be. A time for play, for learning, a time full of innocence and endless possibility. But the title isn't just spring, it's Lost Spring. And that brings us to the haunting question at the very heart of this work. What happens when that precious season of life is just gone? Stolen away by things like grinding poverty and exploitation? Well, we find the answers in the stories of two young boys. First up, we need a boy named Saheb. He's a rag picker, living in a slum on the outskirts of Delhi. And his world, his day-to-day, is literally sifting through garbage heaps to survive. For him and the other kids, finding a coin or a shoe is like scrounging for gold. Saheb lives in a place called Simapuri. Now, it's right on the edge of Delhi, India's capital. But honestly, it might as well be on another planet. It's a slum, a total wilderness of mud structures with tin roofs, home to families who fled Bangladesh back in '71 and have been living there as squatters ever since. Now, for the adults, picking through trash is just what they have to do to eat. But for a kid like Saheb, it's different. There's this little spark of something more. It's a treasure hunt. You know, finding a single rupee in a heap of garbage. For a child, that moment is wrapped in wonder. It's a tiny glimmer of excitement in a really bleak reality. And here's where it gets just painfully ironic. His full name is Saheb Alam. And do you know what that means? It means Lord of the Universe. The Lord of the Universe, spending his childhood barefoot, digging through other people's trash. That name is just this constant, brutal reminder of the incredible potential that's being wasted. So when the author asks him, hey, why do you do this? His answer is it's devastatingly simple. He just says, I have nothing else to do. There's no choice here, no other path. It's just the stark reality of his life, and he's accepted it. And then we see a huge shift in his life. As a rag picker, he carried this light plastic bag over his shoulder. It was his, he roamed free, he was his own master. But then he gets a job at a tea stall. And that light bag is replaced by a heavy steel canister that belongs to the shop owner. Sure, he gets 800 rupees and all his meals, but as the author notes, he is no longer his own master. He's lost the carefree look, and with it, his freedom. So let's switch gears and turn to our second story. This one's about a boy named Mukesh. He lives in Firozabad, which is basically the center of India's glass bangle industry. And what's different about Mukesh is that he dares to dream. He looks the author in the eye and says, I want to be a motor mechanic. He wants to drive a car. It's not some wild fantasy about flying a plane, it's a grounded dream. But in a place where your destiny feels set in stone from birth, just saying you want something different, well, that's a huge act of rebellion. And why is it so rebellious? Because in Firozabad, making bangles isn't just a job. It's seen as a God-given lineage. It's a destiny tied to your caste, passed down from one generation to the next. To even think about breaking that chain is almost unheard of. And this so-called lineage is incredibly dangerous. We're talking about kids working in front of blazing hot glass furnaces, in dark little shocks with no ventilation. The dust from polishing the glass is so fine, it often leads to them losing their eyesight before they even become adults. It's a job that literally breaks them down. The physical damage is obvious, but the toll on their spirit is just as bad. Imagine years of this repetitive, mind-numbing work. It just crushes any sense of initiative, any ability to dream of another kind of life. For most people there, this is it. They've accepted their fate. So you've got to be asking, why can't they just get out? Why can't they escape? Well, it's because boys like Saheb and Mukesh aren't just fighting poverty. They are trapped in a system. A vicious circle of exploitation that is designed to keep them right where they are. This system is like a chain with several links. First, you have the moneylenders, the sahukars, who trap families in debt that's impossible to pay off. Then you have the middlemen, who exploit their labor and pay them almost nothing. If they ever try to organize or form a cooperative, the police will haul them off and beat them. And watching over this whole rotten system are the bureaucrats and politicians who have a vested interest in nothing ever changing. All these forces together create this web of poverty. It's not a straight path you can just walk away from. It's a tangled, sticky trap. The kids are born into it, they inherit this baggage of debt and exploitation, and it's a weight they can never, ever put down. So this brings us back to our two boys, to their two very different fates. Both are victims of this exact same system, but their stories leave us with very different feelings, a mix of hope and despair. When you put them side by side, you see the contrast so clearly. Saheb, who started with that spark of wonder, eventually has it snuffed out. He gives up his freedom for a meager salary and accepts his fate. But Mukesh, even though he's trapped in a tradition that's arguably even tougher, he still dares to dream. His spirit isn't broken yet. He still wants to be his own master. And that tiny flicker of defiance, that's everything. And that leaves us with this final, really provocative question from the author. She observes that for these families, just managing to survive day to day has become a fine art. Think about that, a terrible, complex skill passed down through generations. And it forces us to ask, if their miserable existence is the masterpiece, who are the artists? And maybe more importantly, who's responsible for providing the canvas of poverty in the first place?